Okay, folks, buckle up because today's deep dive is going to take us on a wild ride. We're heading straight into Nigerian folklore where the line between like desperation and magic gets blurry to say the least. We're reacting to a YouTube video and the title alone is just wow. It's from the channel Hot African Folktales and
Yeah.
it's called If Only They Knew He Sells His Wife's Meat to Them. Seriously, kudos to the creator for that title, right?
Oh, yeah. It definitely grabs your attention. And it hints at the deeper themes, too. It's not just the spooky story. It's a look into life in Nigeria, the markets, the pressure to provide, the beliefs, all of it.
Absolutely. So this story is about this butcher, Emeka. He's struggling, trying to make ends meet in this crowded market. He's got a wife, Joy, and a son to support. And his son's school fees are weighing heavily on him. I think we can all relate to that, like wanting to provide for your family no matter what.
Definitely a universal struggle. But in Nigeria, the economic realities can be brutal. High unemployment, fierce competition, and there's a huge expectation on men to be the provider.
Exactly. So Emeka, he's desperate for a break. And this desperation leads him down a questionable path. He runs into an old friend, Chitty, who's now living large, nice clothes, fancy watch, the whole thing. And Emeka he's intrigued. Chitty tells him it's all thanks to this powerful herbalist. And he offers to connect Emeka with this, mysterious figure.
Now, the herbalist is a classic figure in African stories. They often represent a connection to spiritual practices, natural remedies, but sometimes they're linked to something darker, more mystical, even dangerous.
Right, exactly. So Emeka, he's torn, right? He's a religious man, but the temptation to give his family a better life, it's just so strong. He prays for guidance, but in the end, he decides to meet with the herbalist.
It's that classic dilemma: stick to your beliefs when things are tough, or take a risk, even if it means, bending your morals.
Yeah. And in this case, the risk comes at a price. The herbalist offers Emeka a deal wealth, but every time he profits from his meat, his wife, Joy, will lose a piece of her health. The story doesn't say how, which is kind of creepy, adds to the whole supernatural vibe.
It ties into the belief in money rituals in some parts of Africa. The idea is that for big success, especially financial success, you need to make a sacrifice.
And that sacrifice is often something precious. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? That someone would be willing to make that kind of bargain. But Emeka, he's desperate.
It really makes you think about what people will do when they feel trapped. What choices would we make under that kind of pressure?
That's a great point. And so, as Emeka gets wealthier, Joy's health, it just fades. He sees her suffering, but he tells himself he'll fix it once he has enough money. But deep down, he knows he messed up. It's that internal struggle that makes this story so powerful.
He's not just some greedy villain. He's a flawed person trying to do what he thinks is best. But his good intentions, they lead him down a dark path. And the story doesn't shy away from the consequences, the mental toll it takes on him.
Absolutely. We see him go from this initial joy of providing to guilt and fear as he watches joy fade away. It all comes to a head when he overhears villagers gossiping about his wealth and Joy's declining health. They suspect something's up, and they're not wrong.
It shows how important community is in many Nigerian villages. Everyone's interconnected, they notice each other's ups and downs. There's a strong sense of shared morality, which can sometimes lead to judgment.
Right. And facing that judgment, Emeka finally breaks down. He confesses everything to Joy. It's a heartbreaking scene full of anger and betrayal. But eventually, there's forgiveness. Joy, she's devastated by what Emeka has done, but she chooses to forgive him.
It's a testament to the power of love and forgiveness, even after such a betrayal. But the question is, can they undo the damage?
Well, Emeka's full of remorse. He's desperate to make things right, so he goes back to the herbalist. He begs for a way out of the deal.
But of course, the herbalist, as you might expect, doesn't offer easy solutions. There's always another catch, another price to pay.
And in this case, the price is deeply personal. The herbalist offers to transfer Joy's suffering to Emeka. But it'll leave him crippled. He'll experience the pain he inflicted on Joy.
It's a moment of reckoning, a chance for Emeka to truly take responsibility and maybe find redemption through sacrifice.
And he doesn't hesitate. He accepts. He drinks the potion, and instantly the pain hits him. And Joy, she's miraculously healed. What a powerful moment of self-sacrifice.
It's a huge turning point. Emeka goes from being driven by desperation and ambition to being willing to give up everything.
And with that sacrifice, a new chapter begins for Emicia and Joy.
It's a sacrifice with consequences, you know. They lose the wealth, the house, everything that came with that deal. Right back to square one, struggling to make ends meet.
It's a huge change from the life they had, even if it was short-lived. But even back in poverty, Something's different now. Emika's not burdened by guilt anymore, and Joy is healthy. They have each other, and there's this, sense of peace that wasn't there before.
Yeah, it shows that true wealth isn't about possessions. It's about those connections, a clear conscience. Like inner peace is more valuable than any riches.
Totally. And this is when they turn back to their faith. Joy suggests going to church, and Emika, after all he's been through, he agrees. Church is such a big part of life in Nigeria, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the center of the community support, guidance, hope, especially when things are tough.
Yeah, and in this case becomes a place of healing. As the pastor prays for them, Emika starts to regain feeling in his body. Slowly, bit by bit, he goes from barely moving his fingers to standing up. It's a powerful moment. You can feel the hope, almost like divine intervention.
Speaks to the power of faith for many Nigerians. This belief in miracles, a higher power, it's deeply rooted.
Right, and the pastor sees Emika's recovery as a second chance, a chance to use his life for good. Emika really takes that to heart. He goes back to being a butcher, but this time, no shortcuts, no shady deals, just honesty, hard work, and honest living. And Joy's right there beside him, showing how strong their bond is now.
It's a beautiful example of resilience, starting over, doing things the right way.
And the community. The same people who were quick to judge before, they start to see the change in Emika. They see his humility, his dedication to Joy. One woman even apologizes, admits he's become a good man.
That's the power of redemption right there. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. And as the years go by, Emika makes it his mission to share his story, especially with young people, warning them about the dangers of easy money and emphasizing family honesty.
Powerful message, isn't it? True wealth isn't stuff, it's relationships, a clear conscience, living right. It's a reminder that, yeah, wanting financial security is normal, but chasing wealth at any cost, that can be dangerous.
And in the end, that's what Emika and Joy find. True happiness, not in luxury, but in the simple joys of family. They have each other, a home, and that peace that comes from living by your values.
It's a satisfying ending. Shows that even after big mistakes, redemption and a meaningful life are possible.
Wow, what a story. If only they knew he sells his wife's meat to them. It takes you on a roller coaster of emotions. It makes you think about human nature, shortcuts, the real meaning of wealth.
Shout out to Hot African Folktales for sharing this one. But before we wrap up, there's something I wanted to get your take on. You know, we saw how desperate Emika was to make that deal. Like, he was so driven by that need for financial security. And this whole money ritual thing, it got me thinking, do we have our own versions of these rituals in the West? Maybe not with literal sacrifices, but you know what I mean.
It's an interesting thought. I mean, maybe not literally, but think about it, the way we chase wealth and status, it can be kind of ritualistic, can it?
Right.
All those hours we work, the competition, the compromises, sometimes even ethical ones, it's all in the name of getting ahead.
Totally. I mean, how often do we hear about people sacrificing their health, relationships, even their values, all for that success, whatever that even means these days? It's almost like a modern money ritual, just more subtle. Yeah, it makes you wonder, what are we willing to give up for that good life? At what point does it become harmful, not just to us, but to everyone around us?
Big questions, for sure. Emika's story, even though it's set in a different world, it really shows the danger of putting wealth above everything else.
Definitely a cautionary tale.
It reminds us that true happiness, it comes from connection, purpose, living by your values, not just money.
Absolutely. We might not have herbalists offering magical deals here, but the temptations are still there, that pull towards wealth and status. It's up to each of us to figure out our own boundaries, what really matters.
Well said. So as you go about your day, think about what's truly important to you. What are your non-negotiables? What gives you that sense of purpose, of joy? Are you living in line with those values?
It's a good reminder for all of us. Sometimes the most powerful lessons come from unexpected places, like a Nigerian folktale.
Couldn't agree more. This was a wild one, wasn't it? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another exploration of, well, fascinating stories and what they can teach us.